So in lesson 17, we're going to talk a little bit about what's called the canvas feature in our design element for our apps. So Bubble 2 wants you to drag in a canvas here. We'll drag it into the top corner, okay? And then what we'll do is we'll stretch it so that it takes up the whole piece. I'm just going to leave it above the buttons like that, okay? So then what we want to do is we want to put into our code to set the active canvas to whatever we decide to call this one. So we'll call this canvas and we'll use what they had. We'll call it canvas main. All right. And then we want to put a circle in for our canvas. So we're going to drag in a set active canvas here to be the only thing we have, which is canvas main. And then we want to drag in a circle about 160, 240, and then we'll put the radius at 200. And we should have a circle that looks kind of like that. For bubble 3, what we want to do now is we want to be able to set a bunch of random circles to run around our canvas. Now it starts off by telling us that we need to know the width and the height of our canvas, because we know our screen is 320 by 450, but you'll notice we didn't make our canvas go over the buttons. So what we have to do is we got to go to the design feature to see, click on your canvas and you'll see what it is. For me, it's 320. So I have the whole width of the screen, and then I'm down to 390. And now what we want to do is we want to basically create this sort of effect. So we're going to go back to our code and we're going to put in a for loop. So what we want to happen is we want our loop to run 200 times. Okay. And then what we want to do is we want to make a bunch of circles that are randomly placed around. Now we don't want them to be 200 for a radius. We want them to only be 20. And we'll change the last number now, or the first two numbers, to random numbers. Okay. Now the reason we looked up what it was is because for the X's, we need to run between 0 and 320 because that was my width according to my design. And then for my Y, I want a random number between 0 and 390, I believe I was. Between 0 and 390. So if your numbers are different there, you're going to run it to be between 0 and whatever numbers you have. And if you look, now it should place a bunch of random circles around. And if you slow this down a little bit, you'll actually see the random circles as they are placed. I'll speed this up a little bit. You'll see the random circles as they are being placed around the canvas. So now what we want to do is we want to be able to change or talk about the color and the transparency of our circles. So what they want us to do here is they want us to add a stroke color and a fill color before our for loop, so that this way we can establish all of our colors that go with this. Okay, so what we want to do is we first want to drag in a set our stroke color. And we also want to see, you'll see it's set default to red. We want to go down to this RGB. We want to go down to the one with 4 options. And we want to make completely black circles. So we're going to go 0, 0, 0, and we want it to be fully transparent. So therefore we are going to make it to be, that last number to be 0. So that's how transparent our circles are going to be. And then we want to do the same thing for the fill color, except the only difference is, and we don't want to make it yellow, we want to make it black as well. But the only difference is we want to go 0, 0, and then we want to make it mostly transparent. So we want to go 0.2 here for our circles. Okay. So now if we run it, you'll see we should get the effect of a lot of these dark gray circles. And as they fill up, you see as they go on top of each other, they are darker throughout the whole process. All right. And the more circles that fall on top of each other, the darker it gets. All right. So we took our colors, we took our circles, and we changed their transparency a little bit so you can see through them a little, and this way you can see better as they start to overlap. In Bubble 5, what we want to do is we want to change it so that right now our code is set up so that it automatically puts all the circles into play. So what we want to do is we want to drag in an on event that says when you click on the main canvas, we then want to run this random circle being put around. And we're going to take the for loop out completely. And basically what we want to happen is we can create as many circles as you like. So you'll see nothing happens right away. And then you can click anywhere you want on the screen. And every time you click, that is when a new circle appears. Now, where you click on the canvas is irrelevant. It just wants you to click somewhere on the canvas for the circles to appear. So now they don't appear automatically. They only appear when we click. In Bubble 6, they want us to add an event handler to it. That's going to tell us a little bit more about kind of where we click. So if you go into the function aspect here and you put in the word event, what we want to do is we want to drag in a console log above our circle that says, and not in quotes, we want the word event. Okay, so now what will happen on the bottom is as we click here, it's going to give us information about where you click. So you can see I was offset on the X 189. I was offset on the Y 249. There was no movement. So you can see if I click in the same spot, it's just going to keep giving me the same message. What it does is it gives me a little bit more information about where I clicked on the screen, which I know the circles are being put in randomly, but that can help us with some of our information later on if you're creating your own game or app where you need to click in a specific location on the screen. So now what we want to do is we want to basically take away the randomness to our circles and get exact locations. So you can see I'm going to run the program like we have, and you see it's got this offset X and offset Y that basically registered where I clicked, but the circle still showed up randomly. So what we want to do is we're going to take out this console log, all right? And instead of the random numbers for our canvas, what we want to do is we want to put in event dot, and then we want to be offset X, okay? So what that does is now it's going to put it exactly where we click, and we're going to do the same thing for the Y's. It's going to be event dot offset Y, and now what will happen is instead of putting circles randomly around the screen, they're going to put them exactly where we click. So you can see now you can set up your circles better so that it understands exactly where you're clicking on the screen as opposed to just randomly placing them around the screen. So now we're going to see what happens when we change our event handler. So right now, again, we're set up for clicks, okay? And what we want to do is instead of having it be click, we want to see what happens when we change this to mouse move. And you'll see we don't really get a circle effect anymore. We almost get like a spray paint continuous line. You'll see the faster you move, the slower you move, the darker it gets because more of the circles are on top of each other. And the faster you move, the more you can separate your circles around the screen. But it basically almost creates almost like a writing function. But the problem is, as of now, there's no way to stop this from happening. So what we want to do in Bubble 9 is be able to control when it is that those circles are going to be drawn. So what we want to do is we want to keep the mouse move piece, but we're going to add an if statement to this that says if the event dot shift key is pressed, then we want our circle to appear. All right, so you'll see as we go now, nothing is happening as I move my mouse around, but then once I click and hold my shift key, then it starts to write. If I release my shift key, now I can move around freely, okay? And it's only going to register what's going on when my mouse moving if I'm also holding down the shift key. So what we want to do now is we want to basically store all the circles in like an array. So this way we know the location of all of our circles that we've drawn. So the way we do that is we're going to put in a variable before on event, and we'll call it event list. And what we're going to do is we're going to leave it as open brackets. So we're basically going to leave it as an empty array. And then what we're going to do is in our if statement before, we're going to add in append item, okay? And we're going to add every circle that we create to that empty array. All right, so now what are we looking to do? We're looking to append the item in the event list. And what we want to do is we want to add all the events that actually occur. All right, so now what we're going to do is, as we go around here, you'll see the same exact things happen. But now what's going on here is that we are going to, every one of those circles that I just produced has now been added to that empty array and stored in our list.